Hello there, and many thanks for joining us on Joy Asanya Live this beautiful evening. Tonight on the program, our attention will turn to the African Democratic Congress, where a protracted leadership tussle appears to have reached a decisive turning point. The Supreme Court of Nigeria has affirmed the leadership of the party's National Working Committee under David Mark, bringing to a close months of legal contestation and internal divisions. But beyond the legal victory, critical questions remain. What does this ruling mean for the cohesion within the party? Are the underlying fractures truly resolved or merely papered over by judicial pronouncement? And how does the ADC navigate persistent allegations of external political influence, particularly in a landscape often shaped by the dominance of the All Progressive Congress? For a party positioning itself as a credible alternative in Nigeria's evolving political landscape, the stakes are high. Rebuilding trust, consolidating leadership, and presenting a unified front ahead of future electoral cycles would be crucial at this time. Now, to unpack the implications of this ruling and what lies ahead for the ADC, I'm being joined by a chieftain of the party, Paul Hansen, who is joining us virtually this evening. Hello, Paul. Hi, good evening. So how did you, first of all, view what happened when you heard the announcement today, especially because a lot of ADC members, when we were having this conversation before, it was almost as if you were despondent. ADC people had speculated that the ruling party would not give an opportunity to the ADC to thrive, and then there was the accusation of stifling your growth, also influencing the judicial sector against the ADC. So how did you feel when you heard the Supreme Court's ruling earlier today? Okay, we don't seem to be hearing you right. I think you're muted. Can you kindly unmute so that we can have a proper conversation? Paul, can you hear us? We would like you to unmute. You seem to be muted and we can't hear you back here.
Can you hear me now?
That's much better. Thank you so much. So I don't know if you got the question, or should I repeat it?
Yes, you can repeat, please.
I was saying that when I had conversations with with a lot of ADC chieftains and members, it was almost as if you were all despondent. It was as if you had accepted your fate. You didn't seem to trust so much in the judicial sector, and there was several conversations about the ruling APC influencing the judiciary. So what came to mind when you saw that ruling earlier today?
Okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. First and foremost, I want to say this is victory for democracy. And yes, you might be right that a lot of us and Nigerians as a whole had their concerns, about what will be coming up today. But we didn't lose hope completely. We still believe in the Nigerian judiciary. We can't be totally bad. And that's why we kept faith, we kept hope, and believing that the judiciary at the level of the Supreme Court will do the right thing.
Okay, so what happens to that influence all of you were accusing the APC of? Have you now changed your mind? Are you now trusting the elections? Because that was where it started. It almost as if you did not trust the judiciary because you believe the president or the APC was influencing the judiciary. So do you now have some hope that the elections will be free and fair moving forward?
Yes, the truth is we had our fears, like you said. We had our concerns. This is Nigeria, and we know this is a political era. We knew a lot of lobbying and whatever was going on. And as a political party or as Nigerians who believe in democracy, we had to also push for the right thing to be done. And with what we got today, we can only say that the system is not completely bad. We still have hope, we still have faith in the judiciary.
I'm happy to hear that. Now, what's next for the ADC? So much to unpack right there. The ADC also has internal rift here and there. I think there's an ongoing court case still within the party. What's next for the David Mark-led NWC?
All right. We have, thank God, by the judgment of the Supreme Court, to be having our national chairman back, the portal of INEC. And we'll continue what we've been doing. The party has never stopped what they were doing. We've been active. We've continued in what we're doing. And we have elections, ahead. So we'll just continue what we're doing. And we'll make sure that we're able to get our house in order. Yes, there might be other internal issues, but this is a political party. You should expect this. But it's a big family. We'll come together and we'll resolve.
Does this judgment practically change within the party structure? Are we going to see realignment or restructuring within the ADC with this court judgment? Because I know that there was so much uncertainty before now. Are you realigning? Is there structural changes that will be done for the aggrieved factions that was announced? I remember you had some leaders of the ADC even suspended.
Politics is about dialogue and negotiation. I want to say that the level of the leadership of the party, I think they know what to do best and they know what to fit of the party.
So what gives you this much confidence for the ADC? I remember that a lot of you came in from the Labour Party, the Obedient Movement, there's the Kwankwasia movement as well, and several other pockets of movement there. What gives you that much confidence that the ADC is now strong enough for the 2027 general elections? Ekiti elections is just by the corner.
The coalition is beyond party lines. For me, the coalition is a Nigerian project. And when Nigerians come together to align and bring about what will bring good governance to Nigeria, nothing can stop it. So the confidence is the fact that Nigerians are in it.
With that movement of the SDP and then the ADC, do you think you lost some members there? I mean, for those who came from the Labour Party, those who were coming in from the Kwankwasia Party, those who followed El-Rufai, Babachir Lawal, and Chifoyegun as well. Did it get a bit overwhelming for people who are like, okay, SDP, let's get to SDP, and then no, it's no longer working. There are rifts within this party. Let's now move to ADC, and even with the ADC, it didn't come easy. There's been back and forth. Do you think you've, in all of this, lost the confidence of some Nigerians who would have followed to the end?
If you look clearly, you realize that as we speak, more Nigerians are joining the ADC. There's so much confidence. Nigerians believe in the spirit of the coalition. They believe in the spirit of the ADC. And I want to tell you, with what has happened today, you will see more of that realignment.
Now, the ADC has experienced these visible internal divisions with concrete steps in leadership. I mean, taking into cognizance the reconciliation of factions and the rebuilding of trust. Again, what are you doing in terms of reconciliation? Is that even in the works? You have your Honorable Abejide, who is not happy at the moment. We have several others.
I think some of these issues we talked about have been settled a long time ago from our convention. You could hear that some people were expelled, and it was followed clearly by the guidelines of the party. But like I said earlier on, the leadership of the party will do what is right. And we as members, all we do is to follow, and we believe we have great minds, we have great people at the leadership level who are going to give us proper and good direction. So every of these things will be settled.
What do you mean by will be settled? It's almost as if you're being very political with that response. Are there steps? Is there a committee? I know Nigerians, we love to set up committees for everything. Are there steps to reconcile parties who are aggrieved or not happy about this coalition? Are there steps for reconciliation at the moment?
I'll take you back to what I said earlier on. The leadership of the party will give us direction. I believe from tomorrow, we'll get a clear direction.
Okay, so how concerned are you about potential defections or silent dissent within ranks following this judgment? Some people had already moved to look for, I mean, the time is short, and the 2026 reviewed Electoral Act is very clear about membership before elections, and because of that uncertainty, is there still space to bring those people back? And if there is, would that bring about another, are we looking at another rift within the party now that the Supreme Court has eventually given a go-ahead to the David Mark-led NWC?
For me, for those who had left, I believe maybe they were not patient enough. And this is politics, and people are looking for where it's safe for them.
Discussing the ADCs, the Supreme Court ruling about the ADC, exciting time for the political party that had the implication would have been worse. But let me go back to my guest who's joining us virtually, Paul Hansen. Thank you so much for staying with us. What did you think? I mean, for some who thought this ruling was not going to see the light of day, there were those who had been discussing how much is too much meddling or when it comes to a court and the judiciary meddling into internal party affairs. What would have been the option if this ruling did not happen?
Sincerely, we were very optimistic. If you listen to most of our leaders, even before today, we're very optimistic that ADC was surely going to be on the ballots from 2027. So they were all political gimmicks, I would say. Yes, a lot of people had their own reasons to believe what they believe because of maybe probably what has happened in the past, how the judiciary has really interfered, maybe in political issues, especially internal party issues. But we were very confident, and we can't lose up completely in the judiciary. We still believe that there's still place for the judiciary to prove themselves, and that's what they did today by proving themselves to Nigerians.
Let me ask you directly, what did you think was the reason why there was so much insinuations that the All Progressive Congress was meddling in the ADC's internal rift? A lot of us who saw it from afar saw the cracks from the word go, and it was obvious. However, when you speak with anybody in the ADC, it was almost as if, oh yes, the All Progressive Congress, the APC is doing everything to ensure that the ADC doesn't work. The APC is afraid of this force that the ADC, this coalition that the ADC is coming with, and that is what's affecting. There was so many insinuations, and a lot of people had their theories. However, why do you think that was rife? Was it to twist the judgment? Did it work? Or this is just coming out of pure judicial expertise?
Yes, the reason why so many people had that belief or fears that the judiciary was or could be influenced. If you look around, I'm surprised when you say you look from afar. Even from the media, you know so much. So I don't think you need to say you look from afar. If you look at all the opposition parties, they are almost having almost the same problem everywhere. And this is not good for democracy, especially the largest democracy, in Africa. So we shouldn't be having things like this. So it's not as if people were just insinuating. These were clear facts. It was glaring. We all knew it. We all saw it. That there was is it a monkey hand, I was saying this. But for the judgment of today, I will also say, I think, like I said earlier, the judiciary proved themselves. They proved to Nigerians that they are still independent and they can still do what needs to be done. And they showed expertise.
See if when it works in your favor, then the judiciary has done the right thing. But if it's not your favor, like you said, there's a monkey hand. How about how about justice? How about the clear-cut issues that happened? But for those who are watching, can you give us an idea of why you think the ADC got to all these party schisms?
So I didn't get that.
I say, where do I start the question? From the beginning?
Yeah, start from the beginning, please.
I said, that is almost as if when you have your way, that indeed justice has been served and the judiciary has done the right thing. But if it goes left, as it often sometimes do, you believe that there is, like you said earlier and alluded, there is the monkey hand in it. So what do you think in your perspective, what's your perspective about how the ADC got here in the first place? How is it that it is so porous that there can even be a monkey hand in this pot?
I'll say this quickly. You saying, I think there's something you asked, and I feel that might not necessarily be correct.
Okay.
Because it's not because it went our way. No, I want to disagree with that. No, it was very clear. If you go around and collect data and see what Nigerians really said about this particular case, you will realize that it was a very clear issue, that case, that there was nothing there. It was very clear that the Supreme Court will probably do what they did today, because there was nothing to really argue about there. There was nothing to argue about there, and not because it went our way that I'm saying the judiciary has done well. No. Yes, we've had instances where the judiciary didn't do well, and especially to the view of Nigerians. But in this case, it was very clear, and for them to have followed suit and do what is right, I think is on that basis that I said the judiciary have proven themselves, not necessarily because we won or because we got it our way.
But looking back, do you see anywhere the ADC could, or the David Mark led a national working committee, the coalition could have maybe done things any better? In retrospect, should you have done things any differently, just to avoid having to go through this long judicial battle that you did?
This is politics, and in politics, I think you can never have a clean sheet. No matter how you try to perfect it, interest is a game of interest. Some interest might not be met, and you will see all of this coming up. So it's not necessarily about maybe what we would have done or what we would have done.
I'm sure when you look back, there must be one or two things that you say, you know what, we could have avoided it. Because I have this conversation often with people where they say, oh, they are ruling, the APC is stifling other opposition parties towards a one-party system. Like the president himself said, how do you expect me to ennoble opposition party? I will not help them if they are in internal crisis. Can you hear me? You seem to be struggling.
Yeah, I'm struggling to hear you.
Oh, that's fine. Now, if they are in internal crisis, that's what democracy is about. You don't even leave loopholes to allow for anyone to influence a crisis within your party. That's the conversation I often have, is what lessons are there for other opposition parties? And this coalition, while it is celebrated in several quarters, how have you learned your lesson? Because again, I remind you that this journey started from the SDP, where it seemed like the coalition was moving to the SDP, and then the ADC. I'm sure there is something you could have done differently to avoid this, knowing what you know now and looking back. how would you have maybe organized the coalition, the alliances better? What would you have done better?
It's not necessarily because we adopted the ADC. If you remember very well, the coalition partners came together. They had their discussions, they had their conversations. Some of us were part of that. And it was based on their understanding or based on their, coming together and deciding on what or which party, what platform best fits for this coalition that the ADC was taking. Yes, at some point there were insinuations of the SDP, but I want to say this, no matter the party that was taken, what we are seeing here, you will still see it because of, the government in power. They wouldn't want a strong and formidable opposition. So it's not necessarily about the ADC. Even if we are taking ABC or whatever party, I want to assure you that you'd have still seen some of these things springing up.
Broader systemic issue that Nigeria has when it comes to internal democracy and how often weak it is. And let's go back to the court becoming the final arbiters of party leadership. This is over and over what we face. You just mentioned personal or what you call interest, politicians and their interests, and how sometimes it doesn't align, and then we see this happening. What do you suggest we can do to better strengthen our political parties against having to go to court and having several court cases and arbitrations and all of that? And we have parties and members that are forced to follow the constitution of these political parties for a sane, seamless kind of working. Again, remember that the ripple effect of this is having electorates not having many good options. If the parties fail, it means they also must have failed in fielding members or rather contestants or contenders, which will be from there that we can see from as electorates. So how can we strengthen the parties so that by extension you would be stable enough to have and field members or contestants that, first of all, check boxes for electorates?
First and foremost, internal party democracy. Secondly, ideology. That's one of the things we lack in our democratic system. There are no ideologies. That's why people just see political parties as platforms. And that is what we in the ADC want to bring on board. Political ideology, party ideology. That's why we keep political parties and make political parties be real platforms, not necessarily platforms to run an election. But when you come into a political party, you follow the ideologies, you are guided by those ideologies, and that makes political parties strong. I think that is what we need in our Nigerian political system. Party ideology and internal democracy.
Absolutely. At the moment, what's the ideology of the ADC?
You see, the ADC coming together, we are building our ideology. I'm sure if you've been following the ADC, you realize that we've set up so many strategic committees, and these strategic committees are working on building strong ideologies, and very soon the blueprint will be out and all Nigerians will see it.
Strong ideologies. Why did you join the ADC?
I joined the ADC because I believe in what the ADC stands for. Sorry, why I joined the coalition first before we pick the ADC. I joined the coalition because I believe Nigeria needed a real change. Nigeria needed to move from where we are to where we should be. And coming together, bringing people of different interests, people of different political framework coming together, shows there was sincerity. And the leaders of the party or of the coalition, I must say, these are people who have really, really been in the system, who have understood, what democracy should be. And what attracted me more to the coalition was the fact that they gave room for the youth. And that's what I stand for. I'm an advocate for youth inclusion in politics, and they gave that room. During the conversation on the coalition, the youth wing was very active. And you can see today, ADC happens to be the only party that have so many youth in the NWC. Why is it so? because they play a party, they play politics of inclusion. They include the youth. And that was what really attracted me. And not just bringing the youth into the system, the youth are also having a part to play, actively participating in the forthcoming elections.
How is that? You speak so emphatically. However, you've not experienced it just yet because there's been no elections just yet. And when you see the potpourri of leaders in the ADC, those who are front lines, we don't see these youth you talk about. We see Erufai, we see Atiku Abubakar, we see the likes of Babachir Lawal. Where are the youth? Where is the face of the ADC in all of this? Conversations are not around the young people. What gives you this confidence that moving forward, it would be more youth-centric?
If you look into the NWC of the ADC, coming to the party structure, you will realize that even if you look at the deputy national secretary of the party, a very young lady, the deputy national police secretary, a young lady, we have series of them. Young people, we have about 8 or 9, if I'm not mistaken. Youths, when I mean real youths, who are part of the NWC of the ADC.
Okay, so as we end this, as the ADC has ended this protracted legal battle over leadership, now you are established a recognized authority. I should expect there's some sort of structure to the leadership, creating opportunities for rebuilding the ADC as well. But speaking about structures, what does the structures look like and how can you enable? Do you think you have enough time before 2027 to ensure that these structures have one? You know what I mean when I say political structures? You have representations from all 8,809 wards in Nigeria, all 775 local governments in Nigeria, active representation. Because some of the things experts, political experts, have said as to the reason why the APC won was the active representation from top to bottom. Do you think the ADC has the time? Do you think it has the resources? Do you think it has the followership to build those structures before January 2027 when elections begin?
The biggest structure the ADC is having are the people, the Nigerian people. And I want to assure you, if you go around Nigeria, go around all through the country, from world level, you will see that the structures are on ground, not just on ground, formidable, strong, ready for 2027.
It's something you're building.
Yeah, we've been building. And the good thing is that people are following. Nigerians, as if Nigerians were waiting for this, actually. A lot of work is going on.
Okay. Oh, that's good to hear because a lot of people are wondering. Now, you came from the PDP, I suppose. You came in from you came in from the PDP. So what's happening? What happened in the PDP? How are you insulated to such an extent that it won't be brought into the ADC? What are the structures in place? Because we're seeing an APC Amechi, we're seeing Chief Oyegun, an APC, we're seeing Erufai APC, we're seeing a PDP Atiku, we're seeing Peter Obi we're seeing, I mean, the coalition. Because one of the very concerning aspect of all of this is when Nigerians begin to think of the party who would eventually clinch the presidential ticket, the sharing formula conversation, although still speculative, but I would like you to address if you want to, the sharing formula that is being promulgated, especially in some quarters, as the only reason why some candidates or some members of the ADC will shelve their political plans or political ambition. Is that something, are you able to address everyone's interests and needs, so that the issues that made you leave the PDP, a once vibrant political party, would not resurface or show its head in the ADC. Do you think with the crop of leaders that you have, it would address these issues? It would ensure everybody's interest is captured? Can everybody's interest really be captured? Are there those who would shelve their interest for now for the good of the ADC in spite of leaving their political parties?
When you started this, you said you have the Amici coming from here, His Excellency Amici, His Excellency Peter Obi, His Excellency Arabeshola, and others. I must say this, all of that ended. At the coalition, we have just one ADC. All of where we're coming from has been left behind. We are in the ADC. We are standing for what we believe in the ADC, and that thing is the Nigerian project, how to take Nigeria out of this mess we find ourselves. And for whatever interest, I want to assure you, I'm sure you've had interviews with these our leaders, and they've come out to say, resounding every time, that one, whoever becomes the presidential candidate, they will all join hands and support. So it's not about interest. It's about how do we bring the best person who will fit, for the race in 2027. And that person will be someone who can do the job well, who can deliver in the Nigerian project. So it's not about where you're coming from. We've left all of that behind. It's now one ADC looking forward to build a new Nigeria.
But we've been there, done that. You just mentioned the very reason why a lot of them left the PDP. They could not support or rather left other political parties. His Excellency Amechi, for instance, could not bring himself to support the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria when he clinched the primaries. He could not bring himself to support him. Why then would he now, if he doesn't get the ticket to run in 2027, support somebody else who will within the ADC? Is he trustworthy?
I'm sure, I think I've listened to His Excellency Rotimi Amechi a couple of times, and one of the things he kept saying, well, he didn't believe that the person of who was the candidate then was going to deliver Nigeria. So that was his sole reason. So if he didn't believe that such a person could deliver Nigeria, so it was okay. It was okay for him not to support
notice,
what
if
he won't
you
be able to
notice,
defend.
Hanson, if you also notice in his interviews when he's also posed with the question, who do you think has the capacity? He says he has the capacity. Only he knows himself as one who has what it takes to manage this country called Nigeria. So if he believes he has the capacity, he cannot point at anyone else who does. Do you think His Excellency and Amechi would support someone else in the ADC who clinches this ticket and he doesn't?
I think we've passed through that. Yes, they all have interest. He has interest, and this is democracy. It's open for all. But one thing he has kept resounding is that whoever gets it is going to support. And the same thing other leaders have been saying. But let's don't forget, it's a democracy. Until it gets to that point and a popular person is taken, then we'll all keep competing. But when a popular person is taken, they will all put their hands together and every one of us will go in that line.
I really admire your optimism where you say that everyone would come together and support, and it's going to be a stronger ADC. And of course, for some of us who, again, like I always say, are only commentators, I am not a card-carrying member of any political parties. Most journalists aren't. And so we watch from the sidelines. I would also have to say that it would be nice to have that opposition that puts the administration on its toes with criticism that moves the country forward, not the kind that we often see, of course, where it's almost as if you want the country to burn just as long as you do not have your way. As long as I'm not in government, I want the country to burn. Sometimes I read about narratives that we are spewing about this nation of ours, and of course it's reverberating in other parts of the world. There are certain dangerous narratives and nuances that we often use, and it's scary because that is what we are sending to the world. Look at how Nigerians are treated all over the world as of course, re-echoing the things that we say about ourselves. And that is what our politicians has done. Moving on towards the 2027 elections, is it a coalition of bitterness, as some Nigerians have called it? It's almost as if the coalition is, you know what, the president is not, he does not deserve to be president. He is not good enough to be president. Our motive is just to bring him out of office. And Nigerians have not necessarily understood what the goal is. We hear about anything that happens. There are pockets of insecurity that, of course, this administration inherited. But when you hear the narrative that comes out of opposition sometimes, it's almost as if the president himself is the one going to kidnap, to do this kidnapping or fueling the kidnapping, instead of bringing about the solutions as opposition should be. So moving on to 2027 elections and the build up to the general elections, my question would be, are you going to be, now that the coalition, the ADC seems to have a direction with the Supreme Court's verdict, are you going to be an opposition that is factual, fact-based, one that addresses issues, or it's going to be, as usual, the personal attacks? Oh, the president was unable to walk down the stairs. Oh, the president is not fit because he could not speak properly, or very mundane issues that were raised during last elections. So give me an idea what to expect as we build up towards the general elections, and the ADC's role, not to burn this country of ours, but to build it while being an opposition that holds government accountable.
First and foremost, it's not a coalition of bitterness, no, where the indices are very clear. This coalition is a coalition of rescue, to rescue Nigeria. I believe every Nigerian is facing what is happening in real time. Everything isn't just working. Thank God you mentioned insecurity. When you say they point at the president, what is the primary assignment of government? Security of
that's not rhetorical. You really want me to explain the primary responsibility of government?
Why I'm saying this is, when the citizens turn back to the president, who's supposed to be a father of the nation, it's like in a home. When things go wrong, your children run to you.
Absolutely.
As a father.
And you don't think
so when the citizens go to the president, when they point at the president, it's because they look up to him as the president, and he's supposed to provide good security of lives and property, provide social amenities, improve life standard of living. But when this is
okay, we seem to have a glitch right there. It would have been nice to have you complete your thoughts on that, discussing what is going on in the security aspect, where we seem to be recording security breaches across the country. But my next question would have been, this isn't new to Nigeria. Why is it so rife now? We had an administration before now where we recorded just as much, according to statistics, of course, just as much crisis, security crisis that we are facing. The crisis in Benue, for instance, is not new. The crisis in Plateau is not new. And of course, we've seen that this administration changed its service chiefs. And we expected, of course, that there would be different, and we would have tactics and efforts to curb insurgency, to curb banditry, kidnappings, and the many vices we often face. However, what would ADC prefer? What are those structured plans that the ADC could advised the administration to do. Security chiefs had been changed. There is more allocation towards security. I know that the president had some time ago commissioned, I think, the hunters. I think there's several pockets of security that has been added to the architecture. I think it's called not hunters. Yeah, I mean there's the hunters or guards and all of that, and those who man I can't get it right now, but it would have been nice to have that conversation instead of talking about the many problems that Nigeria faces. If we have so much solution, if the ADC has that much solution, where are we in ensuring that the country doesn't burn? You're putting your hands together, putting everything together to support the administration to work on this insecurity. Because sometimes when we talk about leadership, it's not just about when you sit at that place before you can enact changes. If you petition the government to say, these, and these are the solutions, the midterm, immediate solutions that could be done to help tackle security, help tackle food insecurity, help tackle the several sectors that need urgent help right now. That's the kind of opposition we hope to see. But what we often record is, you know what, the president is incompetent, let's take him out of there. Take him out of there for what? So that's the question Nigerians are asking, and it would have been nice to complete that thought with Hansen. I wish he was here to give his conclusion part about that. But for those who may be wondering what the issues are, or background about the ADC. Let me give a quick background. The ADC was founded in 2005 as a reform-oriented party with a focus on grassroots development, anti-corruption, and inclusive governance. For years, of course, it remained on the fringes of national politics, building structures slowly but struggling to compete with dominant parties. The party's early years were relatively stable but largely low impact in terms of electoral success. In 2015 to 2019, the ADC gained significant visibility ahead of the 2019 election when it became a platform for coalition building, notably attracting elements of coalition of united political parties. And that period brought a surge in high-profile entrants, increased national relevance, and extended party structures. However, it also planted the seed of internal tensions within the political party. There were power struggles between old members and new members, disagreement over party control and candidate selection. There was also questions around ideological inconsistencies, unfortunately. But after the 2019 elections, fragmentations and leadership dispute happened, where leadership legitimacy battles continued within the National Working Committee, factionalization with different groups laying claims to the party authority, legal disputes as well. Like many Nigerian parties, of course, the ADC experienced a pattern where political disagreements quickly escalated into some legal confrontation rather than internal resolution that one would think the party had what it takes to do with its constitution. However, from 2020 to 2024, deepening crises and courtroom battles was what the ADC experienced. The party crisis became more entrenched in the years leading to the end of 2023 general election. We had multiple factions emerged, each claiming authenticity, parallel party activities and leadership claims, creating confusion. Now, for this part, the ADC persistent litigation weakened the ADC's public image. At this stage, the ADC's challenging mirrored a broader systemic issue in Nigerian politics. This is exactly what often happens with almost all the political parties. But with this court ruling right now and the Supreme Court intervention, the recent ruling by the Court of of Nigeria affirming the leadership of David Mark representing a critical turning point for the ADC. It ends the protracted legal battle over leadership, established a recognized authority within the party as well as creating an opportunity for rebuilding and reconciliation. However, history has shown that judicial resolutions do not often automatically translate into political unity. And I hope that with this, we would have that formidable opposition that we need for a healthy democracy to keep government and the ruling party at its feet at all times. But with that, I say thank you so much for being part of the Joy Asanye show this evening, rather. And I really hope that now that you know, you could make decisive and well thought out and well informed decision towards 2027. Until next time when we come your way, do have yourself a wonderful rest of the day.